NBA podcast for the 21st of April 2020, the week of the draft for the 2020 class and for the season whenever that should actually be. Following on from last week when we went through our own mock version of the draft, we'll be taking a look at what we actually think is going to happen, what should happen, and who the best players are that are available. So, without further ado, we'll apologise for Paul not being with us this week because he actually is working really quite hard and has a child to entertain. So, lockdown or not, he can't be with us. And the rest of us are going to do our level best to march on without him. So, good evening, Paul. Gentlemen, let's go back over last week's mock draft and quickly run through. We'll probably do the top 10 and then one or two picks from outside of that and see what we think. So, Jim, you had the first pick. You were GM for the Bengals and you dived straight in and went with Joe Burrows as your quarterback. Yeah. Is this the consensus pick from all four of us? And does this make the Bengals a better team?
Well, I think this is the pick they're going to take. It's the right pick. I think he's the best, safest option at quarterback from this year's class. I don't know why you wouldn't take him.
Because you're the Bengals.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, I know a year ago Tua was a front runner, but with the year he's just had, I think you've got to take Burrow, haven't you?
Well, I mean, it was October when Miami were tanking for Tua.
Yeah.
Amazing how things change, isn't it?
I'm absolutely sold on him being the first pick because he was the best college quarterback last year, but I don't think it makes anywhere near enough difference for the Bengals. And if they've got any sense, they trade AJ Green away and get another first-round pick and keep building the team.
I don't think they'll get a first-round pick for AJ Green.
Or they get one. They need so much. Getting Burrows makes no difference. They win as many games with Andy Dalton as they will with Joe Burrow in the next couple of years.
I think you get a third-round pick for AJ Green at the moment. Coming off the injury, contract issues.
He's not played in the year.
I don't. That's what I mean. So I don't think there's any value in trading him away right now. You might as well sign him, try and get him a bit happier, and then decide what you can do from there.
Also, if you're Joe Burrows, you want to go somewhere where they've got they haven't got a decent receiver. So I don't think the Bengals have got a tight end at the moment. They have AJ Green, they've got Tyler Boyd, but other than that, the Bengals need to do a job of convincing Burrow that Cincinnati is the right place to be as well. Like it doesn't just go one way. There were rumours that he didn't want to go there. He's going to do a bit of an Eli Manning and have a sulk, but that's apparently not come through. There's still a job to do to convince him that Cincinnati is the right place for him to be. So the front office have to convince him that A, it's good now and it's going to be better than last year, and B, that they're going to build the team around him. I don't think they'll win that many games this year, but remember when Peyton Manning first came to the league, he only won a couple of games in his first year and holds the record for most interceptions.
Yeah, which is all fair comment. I just think, I was saying to Gary before we started, don't forget the Bengals went 1-15 last year. And at the moment, looking at their schedule, they're going to win, for me, 3 games.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a great year for them, but,
You think they play the Browns twice and they implode all the time? They shouldn't, but they do. They play the Redskins, they play the Giants. So there is, I think I had them at 4 wins. Eventually, I might have downgraded that from 5 after average.
Exactly, you're already backpedaling. But
I think they will win more games than last year. I think the Bengals win more games. But they need so many pieces. I think, if it takes them a couple of years, then, they need to draft pretty early in next year's draft. They're not ready to do anything, are they?
Well, I think they will be as well. And I mean, let's face it, the Bengals aren't a franchise that make kind of very sweeping, quick transactions in terms of like head coaches. How long did they have Marvin Lewis there for, after all? So they're going to keep Zach Taylor there if that's the head coach they believe in, unless he completely bombs this year, which I don't think he will. I think 4 wins is an improvement. Look at the 49ers a couple of years back where they had 3 wins, then 5 wins, then 2 wins. It's like, a bit of faith in your head coach in the front office. It eventually pays off. Yeah, you didn't have faith.
I had no faith whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's all well and good. I just wonder. I don't know if there's absolute value in picking Burrows at 1. He's not the best player in the draft. He's only been the best college quarterback for 1 year. It's not like 2 years ago everyone was saying he's going to be the best. Don't forget, 3 years ago everyone was saying, 2 years ago, sorry, everyone was saying, oh, look at the season Blake Bortles has had, and now he's a backup at the Rams. I'm just saying Burrows could bomb out massively in the league, and then they've missed out the chance on a guaranteed player like Young, who's going to go to the Redskins by the looks of things.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you. I think Chase Young is the consensus number one player on the board, and Joe Burrow is the consensus number one quarterback. But it comes down to positional worth. The Bengals have got a need for a quarterback, and they've got a need for a defensive end as well. But very rarely do teams win with a star-studded defensive end and nobody at quarterback.
And Andy Dalton's not nobody, though, is he? That's the point.
No, they obviously don't believe in him. They obviously don't believe in having Dalton there for the long term. So if that's the case, then get over it and move on quickly.
Are we expecting them to pick up a third, fourth rounder for Andy Dalton on draft day?
Yeah.
I don't know. Where's he going to go? He's now saying that it's absolutely possible that he's there mentoring Joe Burrow.
You think about the amount of third-round picks the Patriots have got.
Yeah, I'd take him.
I think that's all it'll cost you. I think it'll only cost you a third rounder.
I don't think it'll cost that much.
I'd take Andy Dalton over Cam right now as well.
Yeah, I'll take Dalton over Cam.
Nobody knows if Cam is fit. He's probably a better quarterback on his day, but nobody knows if he's fit. So, okay. So, Redskins, we think are going to take Chase Young at number 2.
Yeah.
Rumours today are saying people are calling them about trading out of the second pick. They absolutely need to stay where they are and take the best player available, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, John doesn't want to see the Redskins improve, but this is what they must.
But they've got so many holes everywhere. Just take the best player in the draft. You're only a year on from taking a first round quarterback. I know the head coach has changed or whatever else, but just if you're not taking Chase Young at that point, then the people should be fired.
They should, but Dwayne Haskins isn't the answer, is he?
I don't think we know yet. I would say probably not, but I don't think he's had much of a chance last year, and that was working for most of the season, working for a head coach that didn't want to pick him in the first place. So
yeah.
I think, I mean, we know we've talked about the injury issues with Tua, so it's a big risk for the Redskins to pass over Chase Young to take an injury-prone quarterback. You've already got a first-round quarterback who is sort of unproven. I think out of all the players in this year's draft, Chase Young is probably the consensus pick to have a gold jacket in 20 years' time.
If you're the Redskins and Haskins isn't the choice you want, there are so many free agent quarterbacks right now.
I'm surprised there hasn't been links to Cam going with
Winston, Dalton. If Haskins isn't your guy, get Chase Young and bring someone who's got at least 5 years experience in.
Dalton would be a huge step up for the Redskins.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He'd still have nobody to throw the ball to, but for the Redskins, it would be a huge step up.
I think Winston would be a huge step up for them as well.
When Smith went down injured, remember, they were on for the playoffs.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, they've had a shite year since, but with a decent quarterback,
somehow
they can get there.
I think their defense is okay. With a star piece like that, it could be very good.
Yeah.
I mean,
then you've only got to be average on offense, haven't you?
Yeah.
You look at that defensive line. If they pick Chase Young, that is 4 first-round picks on defensive line. When you've got Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, and then you've got Chase Young. You've got Ryan Kerrigan, who's still got some game in him. That's really... I mean, that's what the 49ers did last year. Yeah, the year before that, they didn't get many sacks, but they suddenly added in this monster pass rusher on the edge, and suddenly the whole defensive line ups their game slightly as well.
And compare that to the Bengals, where if they went for Chase Young rather than Joe Burrow, they'd just be lacquering a turd.
Yeah.
Their defense is also crap. So it's you might as well bring in Burrow and bring in the future. So they can't win still by whoever they pick, because it's just turning up into a team of no ones.
I think when you add in the contract dilemma that's going on in Dallas with Dak Prescott, the NFC East again could be pretty poor. No offense, John, I don't expect the Giants to make a massive step up this year. The Eagles, we'll see what happens. The Redskins have got a good opportunity to overtake a few teams in that division.
Do you not think there's a good chance that the Giants are the second best team in that division behind the Eagles this year?
Yeah,
No.
Good chance. I don't think it will.
So. Daniel Jones did a lot better than I thought, and they've got the best running back there.
You love Daniel Jones. I don't see it at all.
I don't think the defense is great.
I thought he played, with the exception of the fumbles, which was an issue. I thought he played really well. I don't know what more you expect from a guy playing on a team that got rid of its best receiver and had loads of injuries. All right, they've got Saquon to carry much of the load, but we've seen other quarterbacks survive in this league with a star running back, and he was keeping up with them. So I think he did fine. I was right up for mocking the pick. I didn't like it at all, but
I don't think the Giants will win more than 6 games.
Oh, I think they will. I think it's an 8-8 season for the Giants before the draft even. I think it's a good team. The defense needs some work. Build some pieces on defense. Yeah. Build some pieces on defense, but the receivers were coming through. What's the name of the tight end? Looks really good. Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Slayton looks all right.
Yeah. I think they're coming back. I think they'll be all right. I really do. I think the Eagles are still ahead of them because Wentz is a better quarterback.
Yeah. There's a rumor this week that the Giants and 49ers are talking about a potential trade for Evan Ingram.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, it could just be a completely false rumor, but it certainly did the rounds on social media, and that would give the 49ers an amazing 2 tight end set.
Well, we all love 2 tight ends, but you've got to keep him if you're the Giants. You can't let Evan Ingram.
No, I completely agree.
I don't know what the wide receiver pool is like there. It wasn't massively impressive, but there's some youngsters who were decent. So I would hope that the Giants are building, because I think the league is a better place when the Giants, a bit like the 49ers, when these storied franchises are competitive, I think the league is a better place. And so it's about time the Giants were competitive again. That's my opinion. In our mock, we had a massive trade for the 3rd pick. Jim gave up everything he'd got and a bit more and his trousers to move the Pats up from 24 to 3 and swap with the Lions. And then you took Tua.
Yeah.
Or to be the new quarterback and replace Tom Brady. There is no hope in hell.
That is not happening.
It's never happened. I said that at the time. This is obviously never going to happen.
There is more chance of your daughter doing the washing up properly.
Yeah, exactly.
of that happening. So, are the Lions trading out of 3, or are they staying and picking one of the better defensive players that's going to be available?
I think this is the first spot where we could realistically see a trade. One of the reasons that I kind of made this trade, I think that it's the connection between Patricia and the Patriots, and the front office of the Lions and the Patriots, and then it's the connection between Bill Belichick and Nick Saban at Alabama. So, out of things that are never going to happen, this one had a glimmer, but yeah, it's never going to happen. But the Lions are a lot like the last 2 teams I spoke to. There's so many different needs on those teams that it makes sense that if there's a quarterback needy team that's willing to come up and give them a bounty load of picks, it makes sense for them to trade back and fill more needs.
I think it'll depend on whether Miami want a choice of Herbert or Tua. If they want to choose themselves, I think you'll probably see Miami move up. If not, if the Miami don't look to take that pick, I think you might see the Chargers move up.
And I'm going to throw the Jags in there like I have done all along. I think if they think they can draw more people in by having Tua, I think they could be involved. I think it could be a 3-way battle for them.
I completely see where you're coming from on the Jags, and I completely agree that that's a move they should be looking to make. But I don't think they will. I think that number 3 pick is between the Chargers and the Dolphins. And I think a lot of the rumors you're seeing doing the rounds about Miami favouring Herbert over Tua, Herbert getting a little buzz. Herbert's getting buzz from the Giants, who picked next as well. And the Giants obviously trying to shop that out to whoever will take it. That's all because they're trying to deflect and trying to figure out what they're going to do. So Dolphins or Chargers will take that spot if the Lions don't keep it.
Yeah, I can't see the Lions staying where they are. If they do, what do they pick?
Well, I think they'll move back. So I think if they move back to only 5 or 6, they're going to have the same pick.
Yeah,
effectively.
So I still think they're going to take. Is it Akuda?
Yeah,
cornerback. So they're expected to take him, and I think if they can take him and get a second, like Miami have got 14 picks, don't forget. So say they can get a second or a third round pick to move back 2 places, then I think that's what they'll do. And then the Giants might even be able to get a little bit out of the Chargers, but I think once that third pick goes in, potentially the Giants will get nothing, and they'll just end up taking a low lineman like John did.
Yeah, possibly so. I do think the Lions maybe won't get as much value out of that cornerback as they think, and maybe Simmons is the better bet now. But that seems to be that they need to fill the cornerback. You could take
Derek Brown as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did take Derek Brown as well. Matt Patricia, he seems like a Matt Patricia type guy.
What you mean? He wears his hat backwards and is sloppily prepared for life as a head coach.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what I mean.
Okay, the Giants we've discussed are sitting at 4. What are they doing, John? Are they taking an O lineman to help Saquon and Daniel Jones? Are they trading out, or are they trying to build this defense which is leakier than a sieve?
I picked an O lineman.
Becton.
What I think they'll probably do is build the defense. What I hope they don't do is I just keep seeing Herbert mentioned. I'm like, oh, please no. It's not Rosen Jones. But yeah, it's both the O line and the defense need building. I myself picked the O line. I'd be quite happy to see some in defensive line improvements, but
it's Isaiah Simmons or a lineman.
Yeah, I was about to say
if they don't trade down, that's where they're looking to pick.
I think if the Lions don't trade down, the Giants could, which is why you're hearing that buzz about Herbert and the Giants. It's just all bullshit.
Yeah.
But I think if they stay pat, it's definitely either offensive lineman or Isaiah Simmons.
Just for the sake of argument, chances of the Giants finally getting around to replacing Odell Beckham with Ruggs?
No way.
Judy?
No way.
No.
Way too high.
No.
Yeah.
There's too many good O linemen in this draft to take a wide receiver in the top 10.
Yeah, usually I would agree. Because it's the Giants, I just wonder if they'll
just
need
mess
that
it up.
star power again. Maybe, I don't know. It was just a thought that they've not replaced him, and it would equally help Daniel Jones to have a great player to throw the ball to. So if they're happy enough with their line, do you go straight in and keep building the offense, knowing that at least if you can keep up with your opponent's scoring, you've got another year to build the defense?
Yeah, but they've got the 36th overall pick as well, and like with the depth of with the depth of wide receivers in this class, yes, you're not going to get one of those top 10 wide receivers, but one of the top 5 wide receivers, but you're going to get a decent one.
They reckon the depth is so strong you'll be able to pick up at the start of the third round a starting caliber wide receiver.
Yeah,
so
and
the wide receiver pool is this year.
Exactly. It might not be a number 1 wide receiver, but it'll certainly be, a good wide receiver. Golden Tate's still there, isn't he? It's that type of quality you're going to be looking at.
Don't forget, Juju Smith-Schuster went in like the third round, didn't he?
Yeah.
You just don't know, do you? With the
Michael Thomas went the second round. Like the second round has been infamous for producing quality wide receivers.
Well, they're still in the top 64 best players in college. In America. They're still amazingly talented people, aren't they? That's what you got to think about.
Yeah.
It's really how these organisations use them when they get them back to their faculty, and we know the Giants will mess that up.
It seems likely, right? The Dolphins are at 5.
That's the trade, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'll take Tua.
Oh, it wasn't a trade, was it, that one?
No. This is where they stand. So Gary, I think they're taking Tua. I think they're taking Herbert. What does everybody else think? Tua's too big a risk. I think that they think that he's too big a risk. He is the best quarterback. He's better than Burrow. He's better than Herbert. He's a risk.
If you're taking Herbert, it's only because of injury. If you're doing it on talent, you take Tua.
How clever is Tua? Because all this stuff coming out, is that just another smoke screen that he's not very clever?
I've seen the Wonderlic test where he got 13 out of 50, which is one of the lowest scores a quarterback's ever, a good quarterback has ever got. I think it's all smokescreen. I think the whole Herbert thing is a bit of a smokescreen for Miami as well. With Ryan Fitzpatrick there, they've got a capable player playing quarterback. So if they can give Tua, and let's face it, there's no guarantees that we're going to be starting the league in September anyway at the moment. So they can give Tua as much time off as possible. And, they give him enough time to really get over his injuries and then learn the playbook, obviously. I'd say he's the better prospect than Herbert. Herbert's got all the physical tools, like 6'6", 200 odd pounds, massive arm, can make all the throws, it's athletic. Tua's just, he's got more brains and more natural feel for the game.
Do you think the fact he's left-handed puts some teams off or not? There's very few left-handed quarterbacks.
It changes the way your line operates, doesn't it? So it is difficult to build a team around a left-hander. I mean, there haven't been huge numbers of successful left-handers because of that. So
Steve Young's the most famous, obviously.
Johnny Unitas the most successful. I think Steve Young's the most successful.
Yeah, probably.
I can't even remember who are the left-handed ones in the league at the moment.
There's like one, isn't there?
It was for years. It was Kellen Clemens, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brought up on Peyton's places, wasn't it? I think when you went to meet Steve Young.
I think it is a concern for teams, but only from the standpoint that you have to be prepared to change the way your game plan is administered, because it changes everything. It's like learning to play the guitar the other way around. You just have to transpose everything, and it takes a bit longer to learn, but it's all still there. The foundation is the same.
Yeah, it does. It affects the receivers as well. I remember there's a famous story about Jerry Rice with Steve Young. He said moving from Montana to Rice, not only did they have to adjust the timing, because obviously you get so used to playing with one quarterback, but he had to adjust the feel of the ball and the way he caught the ball and get used to that again. At the end of the day, Rice had more touchdowns under Young than he had under Montana. So he obviously, he's a quality player, but it might take a bit of time for the receivers to get used to. And they haven't got Jerry Rice on their roster, obviously.
Kellen Moore was the last one.
It was. Kellen Moore, not Kellen Clemens. Yes, sorry, you're quite right.
But yeah, Vic was left-handed as well.
Tim Tebow was left-handed as well.
Yeah.
It
has been some. There just hasn't been loads. Whether that will just be in some of their minds. So with the injuries,
I think Miami
just excuses though, isn't it?
I think Miami definitely will take him.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think Miami know right now. I think they'll just go with what they feel on the day.
I think they know.
You reckon? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they know, and I think everything else is smokescreen now.
I mean, we didn't know who the Browns were taking till about an hour before they took Baker.
That is true. That rumor came out on draft day. I was doing my final mock draft, and suddenly this rumor came up about Baker Mayfield being the number one pick, and I laughed it off. That's just a smokescreen, but there we go. Just completely different topic altogether. I just saw there's an alert news alert just came in. Apparently, Gronkowski wants to play with the Bucks.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, I bet he does. That'd be
He's
amazing.
not totally done with football, is he? I saw that.
Yeah, suddenly that he doesn't have to go to New England to play with Brady. He's like, I'm interested again now.
I think that's fair though, because I think that resonates with the idea that working with Belichick for too long is hard work. And imagine if they sign Gronk as well. Christ almighty, you can just give him the Super Bowl now.
He's been in Florida anyway with WWE.
Getting pissed.
Yeah. It'd be amazing. For the record, if Tua did score 13 or whatever it was on the Wonderlic. Jamarcus Russell scored 24, and he was notoriously poor and couldn't understand the playbook. So
Lamar Jackson got 13.
Yeah.
He's the MVP.
But Lamar Jackson doesn't read the playbook. He just runs.
He just makes it up as he goes along.
He's still more of
MVP.
He's still more of a running back than a quarterback.
Yes, he is. Okay. Chargers at 6.
They
What
take
do they
Herbert.
do? Do they take Herbert, or do they keep building the one of the best defenses
They
in
take
the league?
Herbert.
Yeah, I think they just take whichever quarterback hasn't gone to the Dolphins, is what I think they will do. Unless they're specifically sold on one and they try and jump up, as we discussed earlier. But I don't think it matters for the Chargers. That team is irrelevant, which is a shame because the new uniform looks amazing. But the team, they're just irrelevant. It's a shame. Nobody's going to notice what they do.
Nope.
I don't know how better to put that. Panthers at 7.
Derek Brown.
Again, plenty of needs. What do? You've got to replace one of the best linebackers we've seen in 10 years.
That's true. If Isaiah Simmons is there, that's almost an instant replacement. But I seem to fail in moving past Derek Brown going to the Panthers.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll trade out of that. I know I did, but I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will. I think they'll stay there. Yeah, that team. I don't see anything good for the Panthers.
I don't think they've got loads of picks though.
I don't know how many picks they've got, but I think they're in a mini rebuild situation. They've got some pieces, but there's no depth to that team whatsoever. And that is a concern. It's got to be. But yeah, I mean, if they can accrue some picks by trading down, maybe. But I think if there's a very, very good defensive player left on the board, they should take that and start filling in from that end of the page forward and just keep moving with the defense first, because you know what they're going to do on offense. It's going to be hand the ball to McCaffrey and try and block a hole for him, basically.
Yeah, but when they've got so many other speedy receivers that you only have to pass them in very short routes, which is probably good for Bridgewater, and they'll get the yards after the catch. I completely agree with Griff. I think they are in a rebuild mode. I mean, that's why they gave Matt Rule a 6-year contract, because they're like, we're going to give you the keys to the franchise. You have to rebuild it.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to get plenty of time. I mean, he's doing great work in the second year. He's at all of the places he goes, isn't he?
Yeah.
First, he just stabilises and they don't win that many games, but they start to go in the direction he wants to. And then the second year, everything takes off. So, I think that hopefully they will. Again, this is another team that you think 4 years ago they were in the Super Bowl, 5 years ago they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they're a completely different team though. When you look at that roster,
but everything just fell apart from when they went to the Super Bowl. The day Josh Norman walked out of the building, it all just fell apart.
I was trying to think of his name. And it's like, what was that good cornerback who went to the Redskins? Who turned out to be absolute dog shit. But yeah, like
they signed for the Bills.
Yeah.
But
you look at that Panthers defense. Okay, from back then to now, there's no Josh Norman, there's no Luke Kuechly, there's no Thomas Davis. I think the whole defensive line has almost changed.
Yeah.
That and then the offense as well. Now that they got rid of Cam, they've kind of drawn a line under that period of the franchise, and they're moving on. And I reckon they'll give Bridgewater a year, maybe 2 years, and if he's decent, they'll keep him, and if he's not, they'll find someone else.
He's not that expensive, is he? So nothing to lose, really.
Seeing as it is Bridgewater, could they not be? I mean, probably do it later in the draft, but they are going to need to steady that O-line because they have got a really fragile quarterback now.
That's very true.
That's
There's
good.
a lot of O-line again this year, though, so they should be able to pick up enough people. But yeah, you're in trouble if Bridgewater gets sacked more than 20 times this year, 25 times maybe.
They've traded everyone else.
He'll get sacked more than 25 times. I think you're in trouble if you get sacked more than 40 times.
Yeah.
I think if he gets sacked that much, he's broken and it's game over. I think he's got to be one of the last 3 or 4, the least sacked 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league.
Well,
in order to be successful.
Yeah.
They've got 8 picks, by the way, so it's not a lot.
I didn't think they had a lot. No.
It's not a lot. Right, the Jags. I've already said what I think. I think they're going to be looking up to move up. Sorry.
What about number 8? Pick 8, Griff.
Sorry. Who did I miss?
Arizona.
Arizona. Oh well. The deal with Arizona is: do you continue to build with the offense, which should be fairly amazing, or do you now start working on what is an absolutely shit show of a defense that doesn't matter what you do at this pick is not going to immediately make the defense better?
I think you'll see Miami picking twice in the top 10, however they do it. I do think they should make that. I think that move I made was a good move.
Yeah, you traded up and sent.
What are you laughing at, John? The fact that I thought that was something I did was good.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest shock of the night so far.
Yeah, there's a possibility. It depends if they. I mean, what do they need on offense now to make them a legitimately really good, or like a great offense for them?
Defensive line.
Yeah, so it's just the line, right? So there's Tristan Wirfs we haven't talked about yet, who I think is a really good O-line. Wills.
Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, so I think they're likely to take one of those and make Kenyon Drake a really good running back by putting huge holes in. That is what I think they should do, and just build the defense after that, because you cannot put one player into this defense and it make any difference. The defense is all.
So say they tried it back with Miami. Miami got the 18th pick, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 4 very high-class O-linemen, and then there's another 5th one, I can't remember his name.
Josh Jones.
Predicted to potentially go late in the first round.
Yeah.
So if you can pick up a second rounder or a very early second rounder, I think I gave him like this 36th pick. 36th and 18th for 8th. I think if you can do something kind of like that, and that was roughly right on the pick chart. Yeah. So that was about right. If you can do something like that, and you can get 2 picks in the top 40 for 1 pick in the top 10 on that Cardinals team that still's got quite a lot of needs. You know, they picked second 2 years ago or whatever. You know, last year was it first last year? Yeah, so they've still got a lot of holes. You know, so I think that's definitely the more sensible move to make. If you take 2 players in the top 40 for 1,
I completely agree. Like I had the Cardinals, and Gary put that off on the table. I traded back, and I was still able to pick a really good defensive lineman at number 18. I went with Caleb Von Chason, who again he's probably the second best edge rusher in this draft. And when you're second best to Chase Young, you might as well be top. Because Chase Young's unbelievable. But yeah, if they get that and then a high second round, I think Arizona would bite Miami's hand off.
Yeah, I think they should as well. Oh, yeah, I've now just had the alert come through to say that there is an actual trade discussion about Rob Gronkowski. I might have to just buy some red gear and go and support the Bucks. Don't know what else to do. It's entirely possible that he's going to come back for a year and play with Brady there. That team would be incredible. It would mean that either Cameron Brate or OJ Howard would be getting traded somewhere.
Howard would go to Patriots.
Yeah, I'd take that. I think that'd be all right. Because Gronk
Cameron Brate should just wait for wherever Jameis is going and go there, because they are just.
Well, yeah,
Jameis's main issue was that he threw 30 passes that weren't to Cameron Brate.
You know, while we're talking about Jameis, is he actually going to be on a team?
Yeah.
He's too good to be.
Yeah. When you look at the quality of some backups, he can't. I mean, providing his wage demands aren't astronomical, that's the only thing that will stop him getting on a team.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you not think that people are going to lowball him, basically wait until the season is near?
They are. It's supply and demand, isn't it? And there's too much supply at the moment.
We've never had a year where the passing leader from the league the previous year, who hasn't been subsequently retired, has not started the following season. Yeah, it's never happened. So I think he'll be somewhere, but I don't think he's starting anywhere, barring injury, because people are going to see him as a reclamation project that has got to work his way back into a team. But if he gets on a team, sometime in the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to be talking about him starting somewhere. Maybe not for the team he goes to next, but he will get another opportunity in the league because he is too good. He's
Well, he's better than Gardner Minshew.
Yes, he's better than Gardner Minshew. Yes, we can all agree on that.
You've got Cam Newton and Winston out there, and they are both better than Gardner Minshew, which leads us into the ninth pick, Michael.
Yes, it does lead us into the ninth pick. Well done, Gary.
Nice segue.
Yeah, so the Jags, I think they're looking for a quarterback. I know it's less and less likely if they stay where they are that they'll do that, but I cannot believe that they're really just going to go in with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback.
I think they're taking a defensive player.
Yeah.
Yannick Ngakoue's been having some massive Twitter row with one of the executives today. It was like free Yan. He just basically saying like, get rid of me. Like he's just like, basically, I told you to trade me. So
I wouldn't argue with him. He's massive.
So he's gone. He's refused to sign the tender so far. I think their defense is falling apart. I think they're taking the best defensive player available in that spot.
Yeah, it's all they can do. And again, it won't be enough. They've lost so much quality out of that defense. In the last 2 years, it's just been decimated.
But imagine this: it's not a massive surprise, but a little bit of surprise that Doug Marrone didn't get sacked alongside Tom Coughlin.
It's ridiculous.
They stock up on defense this year, completely tank, pick up Trevor Lawrence next year with a new head coach.
Well, apparently Leonard Fournette as well. Apparently he's on the trade block because he tried to get Cam Newton to join, and Doug Marrone's worried he might have upset Gardner. So now apparently they're quite happy to just get rid of Leonard Fournette.
I don't actually have a problem with them getting rid of Fournette on the basis that I don't think he's a team player.
I did hear the rumor that they're putting out the rumor about Fournette to let him know that no teams want him.
But do you know how much Fournette's going to get paid next year, basic salary?
Go on.
$4 million. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
the running back salary. Yeah.
I don't know.
You tell me that the Bucs don't need a running back for $4 million.
Yeah, they do. That's a great shout. I just don't think any team needs Leonard Fournette as Leonard Fournette. If you can get him and get him to buy in, then that's fine. But he's never bought in at the Jags.
Leonard Fournette has never been like Zeke Elliott or Derrick Henry or name another top-rate running back. He's had some games that are good.
Ray Rice.
And then he's had a lot of games that are average.
Yes, he's missing but he has put up some phenomenal yardage. So
in long runs.
So did Blake Bortles in the passing game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that team there's just nothing left. You look at the players they've lost. We'll assume Ngakoue is leaving. Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, the other cornerback whose name
Calais Campbell.
Yeah, huge names have just gone. I mean, they've all gone because they've wanted to walk away. It tells you that there is an actual problem with the team, the way it's run. They've blamed Coughlin rather than Marrone, but I'm not sure. I think it's both and the owner. In fact, the whole thing is just badly run.
They could literally blow up the whole front office and the coaching staff at the end of this year. Like if things go badly, I think that's complete rebuild. Because what is it? All the other GM's been there ages. Marrone's been there a good few years now. You can't keep giving them the same opportunity.
No.
Tony Khan, the GM, he's the
owner's son, isn't he?
He's the owner's son, so you can't fire him.
Well, he's not GM though. Caldwell's GM.
He's the AGM, but he is the owner's son. Decisions go through Tony Khan, he is also chairman at Fulham. He runs his own wrestling company. He is not focused, as Ngakoue has pointed out.
Well, Yannick, he basically said to Yannick Ngakoue, "Show me the money."
Yes.
Like, you want to leave? Get someone to give you some money. That's basically what he said. Show me the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think John's right. It's just it's not a focused franchise. It's just there because they make money from it. That's it.
Yeah, I think they had that AFC Championship, appearance against the Patriots, and I think all the players left that game with a massive level of overconfidence that all they had to do the following season was turn up and it'd all be the same, and they'd have another shot at getting into the Super Bowl. And it just doesn't happen like that, does it? It's not what the NFL's about.
No, it's and I don't think they've ever understood that as a franchise, or not for a long time. Certainly since Coughlin left the first time round, they've just never recaptured that form. They got lucky the other year. They had a what do they call it? A great patch of the season where everything went their way. But once they got put under pressure, it fell apart.
Yeah, and they're still picking in the top 10.
Yeah, it's not great. Rounding out the top 10, everybody's favourite losers, the Browns.
Yeah.
O-line
all the way, right? It must be.
They don't go O-line. It's I just don't know. Like, they've got a new GM there, and if he can't see the fact that the biggest issue on that offense is the O-line, and he's done some work in free agency, and bravo to him for that. Still got to bring in more O-linemen.
That's all they can do. I don't know if the Browns are going to get any better just by making the O-line better, but I would like to think this is the year we find out what Baker is actually capable of doing.
I think this is a make or break year for Baker.
I don't
think they'll get rid of him if he has a bad year after this, but I don't think anyone will look at him and say, oh yeah, he's got potential. This is the last year they'll write it off as bad coaching. This year, if he's not performing, then you can pretty much write off his career.
Under pressure for his spot. Somebody else will be drafted, or a free agent quarterback will be brought to compete with him. You can't. He is now the last of those 5 quarterbacks taken, the least impressive.
Again, like, if you replace Baker Mayfield with Jameis or Cam, with all those offensive weapons around him, you'd probably almost bank on him into the playoffs.
Yes, I agree. I think, I don't know. I was never sold on him in the first place just because of the personality. He's definitely got something. He's a talented player, but he was never worth drafting ahead of some of the others. Just wasn't. It was a gamble.
21 interceptions last year.
Yeah, what did that put him? 3rd in the league?
I don't know, but he only had 22 touchdowns.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not good. I think Jim makes a good point with the other free agents, and I think this is the year. He's got to have half as many interceptions as he has touchdowns, and they've got to win a minimum of 8 games. Otherwise,
absolute minimum.
Yeah, but those two things. Yeah, those two things. People will say, okay, he's stabilised. We might be making progress. Anything less than that, he's under massive pressure then, and the team will start looking elsewhere, because that'll be 3 years and no actual progress really. Right, right. Take your pick from what's left, because we don't want to sit and go through all 32. But there are some interesting teams that have got multiple picks in the first round, such as the Raiders and the Niners. Who's doing what? Who's trading? What do we think? And who are the best players that are left?
So, I think the Niners will trade out of probably the latter pick.
Yeah.
I think we want a wide receiver. For me, I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in this class. I'd be amazed if he drops all the way down to 13. I think he'll go maybe 11 or 12. I think the Raiders might take him before us. I know Jim's a bit of a Jerry Jeudy fan. To me, that just sounds like the host from Good Morning Britain or something. But CeeDee Lamb's got better skills, I think. I think he's a better all-round wide receiver. So
he's definitely more physical. I think speed is probably about the same. I think Jerry Jeudy's got better route running abilities, and he's probably the more polished receiver, so to speak. I could really see a team trading into the top 10 to get one of these wide receivers, either the Broncos or the Eagles. And that, I think that thought was almost unimaginable a few months ago. I even tweeted it in reply to someone, and I basically got shot down by Twitter saying, wide receiver class is so deep, no one's trading up to get a wide receiver. That was when the Bills lost to the Texans. I said, do you trade up to get one of these top wide receivers? And pretty much got shouted down. And I kind of thought rightly so. It was maybe a bit of a left field guess. But now I really could see a team like the Eagles or the Broncos Or
I
even
don't think the Eagles will do it. I mean, if anyone's going to do it,
it's a long way
if
to
anyone's
go
going to be
for
that
the
stupid,
Eagles.
it'll be the Broncos.
Yeah, brother, it's a long way to go for the Eagles, the Broncos to trade up 5 spots, or even to get to the Jets spot at 11 to
Yeah.
get on the top 3. Because I think you're right, Gary. I think kind of by 13, the 49ers could be left with the last top 3 receiver, whoever that might be.
I think any of the top 3 receivers immediately make their teams better. So I don't think there'll be as much movement as there might be in other years, where there's only one legitimate starter in the first round. But if you get this right, if you pick the right one of the 3, you've got the next Julio Jones.
Yeah.
It's just getting it right. The year that Julio and AJ Green both went is unlikely to be repeated. You very rarely get 2 brilliant first-round wide receivers.
Yeah.
Quite often, the better one found first down by luck.
You're absolutely right. There were a couple of years where there was a lot of wide receivers in the first round. The year that Sammy Watkins and Odell Beckham went was a big year for wide receivers. But even out of that class, it's only really Beckham, and even then you can debate whether he's now a star wide receiver. So yeah, I think you're right. That AJ Green and Julio Jones year was an anomaly. You just don't see that happen.
No, and we would point out Sammy Watkins now has a Super Bowl ring, which Odell Beckham does not have.
Yeah, but so does Trent Dilfer.
The age-old argument of so does Trent Dilfer. It's one of my favourites. What about the Raiders? The Raiders last year did pretty good things in the first round with their 3 picks. They kept all 3, which most of us had them trading out of at least one of those to acquire more picks, but they stuck with it. They went with all 3, and 2 of those players were really good, and one of them got injured, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, is safety?
Yeah, was it Abrams?
Yeah,
Abrams, yeah.
Who we saw in was it Hard Knocks they were on, and he actually looked like a monster, and then he hurt himself by basically overdoing it. But so effectively, they're getting another first-round pick back this year because he'll be playing. I think they might do the same again. I think they might say, no, we're not trading out of either of these. We'll keep picking because we've actually got a record that shows we're doing quite well with it.
It depends if anybody wants Jordan Love, whether that. So I think the Raiders are. So when we did our trade up, trade down, I put the Raiders as a maybe trade down. I think it depends what they get offered. You know, I could see the Patriots move up from 23 to 13 because
not for Jordan Love.
Well, the Saints need a quarterback. Yeah, the Patriots need a quarterback, and I just think you always see quarterbacks' value in drafts go up.
Yeah,
there's always more taken in the first picks than you think.
For it.
Every time. Last year, definitely more quarterbacks went earlier than we thought, didn't they?
Yeah. So the top quarterbacks we know are Burrows, top, Tua, and Herbert, debatable second and third, right? Then outside of those 3, you've got 2 who could be brilliant but require a lot of work, and 2 who process the game very well but have not had great years where they've just been. So Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Jacob Eason, and Fromm.
Yeah.
I can't see the Patriots.
I don't think Jordan Love is that far away from Justin Herbert as some of the others. Like Jordan Love had a bad 2019, but that was because he lost 4 first-team offensive linemen and a whole load of wide receivers to draft the previous year.
Sure.
So, and the previous year he was brilliant. So if you put talent around him, and I think Gary's right in terms of kind of the Saints. Like we chatted about it after the draft, and I thought Jordan Love for the Saints would be a really good pick because you can sit there for a year behind Drew Brees, and then you just slot seamlessly in and play it with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, who might be better than last year. The git,
but you're not bitter. Yeah, I can absolutely see that. Jalen Hurts is an interesting one. He's not a pro-style quarterback in any stretch of the imagination, but people will look at him because it is something different has worked with Lamar, and they will look at Jalen Hurts, who isn't the same, but they will say, this is something different again. We can probably get somewhere with this guy. He's somewhere closer to Taysom Hill, but with more touchdown throwing ability.
When I reviewed my draft picks, the one I kind of wish I had back was the Saints, because I picked it as if the Saints are happy with Taysom Hill. They've put a first round tender on him, so I went with the idea that they're not going to take a quarterback. But actually, it's not what I would have done, really. I think I would take a quarterback, because I'm not sold on Taysom Hill. I know a lot of you love him, but, and I think he's great as a gimmick player, but I don't think he's a starting quarterback.
He's not. Otherwise, he would have started when Breeze was injured.
Yeah.
So I think this is Drew Brees' definitely his last year. So I think they will try and take one.
He's signed a contract with one of the TV companies to be a pundit next year.
Yeah.
So
has he?
Yeah. Like, it's make or break this year. And like I said, like, you look back, and I'm not comparing the two players. Please, no one shout at me. But you look back, and Pat Mahomes had a year behind Alex Smith. Like, if you give a young quarterback a year behind an established, experienced quarterback who's willing to teach them, and let's face it, if Drew Brees is out next year and he's like, yeah, this is definitely my last year, he's not going to have that kind of chip on his shoulder that Tom Brady sometimes gets accused of not helping younger quarterbacks. He's so bought into being a Saint that he'll probably help coach and mentor kind of a younger quarterback to take over next year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know that Jordan Love is the right. I cannot get into my head that he's a first-round pick, but you are right in saying that the year before last, he was way ahead of Joe Burrow in college. So it's recency bias is what I'm getting at. Recency bias dictates that he isn't a first-rounder, but we know that one of these guys is probably going to. There's no way for me that you only lose 3 of these quarterbacks off the board.
No way. Yeah,
there will be a fourth.
I don't know. I can see being 3. I just don't see where you take a fourth, because I don't think the Pats will take a quarterback in the first round.
No, I don't think they will either. But like you say, the Saints could. Somebody could choose to trade up. Don't forget, Lamar was originally not going to be taken, and the Ravens traded back into the first round. Yeah. So somebody will, if they overvalue the position. I still think for the Patriots, you're looking at Fromm, because it's brains over brawn, which is what they've been used to running. They're not going to want someone with a massive arm when their whole offense is predicated on picking up the read before the play starts. And he does that best out of all of these quarterbacks. It's just that the physical attributes are not there. And then Eason, I really like Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason? Yeah. When I say it out loud, it doesn't sound right. But I really like him, but he's the one that's falling between all these others. There's nothing that makes him stand out. He's just a really solid college quarterback. It doesn't stand out at all. So he won't go in the first round, or at least he shouldn't. But he's well worth. Yeah. But it's well worth considering him for late second and early third. Don't forget, we've seen some shocking decisions by teams to pick players like Bryce Petty, Hackenberg.
The Colts have got
Geno Smith. Oh no, they were all Jets players.
But the Colts have got Phillip Rivers for a year.
Yeah,
and they're clearly not sold on Jacoby Brissett.
No.
They've got loads of cap space. Do the Colts move all over the place?
There was a lot of cap.
Interesting team to watch. The Colts.
Yeah.
They could choose to go either way, because they can do whatever they want. Really, they're picking in the middle of the draft, and they've got loads of cap space.
Yeah.
Before the Butler trade, the Colts had the 13th pick, and there's a lot of talk about them taking a quarterback there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they took Jacob Eason sitting there in the second round, or Jake Fromm, even any one of those kind of what I'd say is probably third tier quarterbacks. If they're sitting there in the third round, third round, then I could really see the Colts taking one.
Yeah, I think they must. I think they must take a quarterback, but it will depend who's left. There's no way for me that only those.
John's not having this.
No, I'm
not having this, Griff.
No,
I just don't see it this year. I don't know why. I just don't see it.
Because not everyone can tank for Trevor Lawrence, because there's only one Trevor Lawrence.
Sounds like a really bad football chant.
It does. Like I said before, I think when we were recording before, that Sam Erlinger, the Texas quarterback, I think he's going to be really good. Obviously, don't know what his record's going to be this year, and the team that he plays on isn't an amazing team. But he, as a quarterback, is really, really good. So that's Trevor and him. there's 2 for next year already. After that, who knows what's going to happen? They can't all be tanking for one player, is what I'm saying. So if somebody's there this year and you can sit them for a year behind Philip Rivers or Drew Brees or whoever it's going to be, you might as well take the gamble this year because you're so far removed from next year, you can't possibly guarantee that.
Yep.
What else have we got? Who do we think is taking elsewhere? The Vikings have got 2 picks, I believe.
Yep. Quite late though.
Yeah, I don't think they'll pick twice in the first round. They will want depth because that team requires depth as opposed to lots of pieces in one place. So they're going to need some depth. They're going to try and trade out of that. That would be a good place. They're picking at 25 and 22.
Yeah.
Somebody could get in from the second round to the 25th pick and pick one of these next level quarterbacks. That's the sort of overvalue that they're going to be paying for.
Well, there's a reason you trade back into the first round for a quarterback or any player really, and that's to get the 5th-year option, which is cheaper than giving them a new contract, especially at the quarterback level. So yeah, I mean, 25th pick. It's probably a long way to go from the second, so they might ask for quite a premium for that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they're probably one team that we could probably expect to move around the board a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes I am right. Josh Allen, everybody. Josh Allen, everybody.
Occasionally.
I'll be interested to see what the Ravens do because I think that team is not far away from being able to contend with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But they get it right because if they get it wrong this year, they'll be a bigger step away from the Chiefs than they are already. So do they carry on building the defense to stop the Chiefs or do they keep surrounding Lamar with things to try and keep up with the Chiefs? What do you do?
I think they'll be able to build the defense.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I think they'll probably take a cornerback, a linebacker, something like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be linebacker. I think they've got to be able to. The only other thing is they could go for another edge rusher. They've got to be able to stop Mahomes. You've either got to be able to defend the pass or stop the pass before it leaves his hand. That is what all the AFC teams have got to be able to do.
I don't think that one of the top 3 or 4 edge rushers will be left at that point.
No, there won't be.
No.
I mean,
there'll be enough talent in linebacker to take a linebacker.
Yeah. We hadn't taken Bourne.
I think that could happen.
You said it on last week, Griff. Is the reason why I traded a lot of picks to get out all my teams out of the top 20 is that when you go past 20, the quality does drop off a little bit. It's you're starting to get down to like either the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rated players at respective positions. So it does become more difficult.
Breaking news: Gronkowski's gone to the Bucks.
Oh fucking!
For a 7th round pick and the Bucks 4th rounder.
Fucking wankers!
That's amazing.
That is brilliant. That
like
is
Brady, man. Like Joe Exotic needs to fucking take him out. Like,
that's phenomenal. I'm surprised that one of the tight ends from the Bucks wasn't included in that trade.
Yeah, I thought they would have asked for it as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that is a proper 2 fingers up to Bill Belichick as well.
Yeah, it is.
You know damn well he would have liked to have Gronkowski back last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they look pretty happy at Gronk's party on the beach, didn't they?
Yeah, uncomfortable is what they looked. But yeah, that's happening. So there we go. The only way my evening can get better now is if I get an announcement saying we've actually persuaded Andrew Luck to come out.
I think we need a break, and I'm not sure I need another gin after that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I cannot. Wow, that's okay. All right. So, anybody left in the first round that you want to discuss before we move on? I'm going to take silence as a no. So, I'm looking for a first round pick that you think is going to be either the offensive or defensive rookie next year. Starting with John.
One of each, or
you can go for one of each, or you can just pick one, whatever you feel.
It feels like saying Chase Young is really obvious, but
I was thinking that
Chase Young. Is Chase Young going to be defensive player, the rookie of the year?
Yeah.
Unless unless someone comes in and is a Darius Leonard and is a complete surprise, Chase Young has all the tangibles to be the only thing that, you know, if he's on a shit team, he may be watered down a bit, but I think he'd be, you know, I think if he's at Redskins, there's enough there to complement him. I think he'll be fine. So him, and let's go with, once again, it seems really obvious, but CD Lamb. I've seen enough of him to think that is a really talented player. And if he can be on the right, if he can get onto if he can get to someone like a 49ers, then that is a scary prospect.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I'm fairly sure we all think that there's a good chance Young will be Defensive Rookie of the Year. I will say Simmons as well. I think he's got a really good chance of putting up numbers that you can't ignore. So I think he's got a good shout. I think picking an Offensive Rookie of the Year is much, much harder. Any of those wide receivers could be. There's no running backs that we think are going to go in the first round, and yet it could still be a running back who does it, because they can go a lot later and still be such contributors to their team that they get awarded the prize. So I don't know. It's tricky picking an offensive rookie. I think Ruggs III is actually a very good wide receiver. And again, like you say, putting on the right team, I think he could be the sensation at wide receiver. So I'll put my money on him. I don't think any of the quarterbacks are going to win it this year, because Burrows won't be on a good enough team. Tua might not play all the season. And Herbert, if he's on the Dolphins, he's not making an immediate impact. That's still a rebuilding team. So I don't think it'll be one of the quarterbacks. That just leaves you wide receivers. So anybody else got thoughts?
So I think CD Lamb will win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's my favourite wide receiver. And like you said, I don't think any of the quarterbacks will either, one, play enough, or two, win enough to win it. And I've got a feeling that Simmons will win Defensive Rookie of the Year, mainly because I think he's going to fall to a slightly better team than the Redskins. And, you know, I think the season's results do also play into where the league looks for, you know, the best of it. It's got to mean something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has got to be. It's got to be, you know, meaningful. It's got to affect a game. It's got an effect to win. And I think, you know, potentially, you know, Chase Young will have a great season, but I'm not sure it's actually going to be worth very much.
No, that's it. You can put up 10 or 12 sacks and only win 2 games. It's harder for defensive players to affect the win total as well. Let's not forget that. It just is harder. However, if you can put enough good tape together, people will pick you out because you are the standout on your team. Whether or not he will be the standout, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think we're fairly close in our thoughts on who's going to do what.
I'm going to throw in a few left field.
Go on then.
Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, when you first posed this question, I was like, Chase Young and Henry Ruggs, because I think Henry Ruggs will probably score the most touchdowns because he's the fastest, he's the most elusive player, and in release that mean prizes. So a couple of different options, and yeah, you mentioned that I agree. I don't think there is going to be a running back going in the first round, but that doesn't mean a running back couldn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year and come out of nowhere. And the 2 running backs I really like, DeAndre Swift, he's probably the best running back in this draft class, and J.K. Dobbins. You watch J.K. Dobbins in his last game for Ohio at the end of the year, he was running all over the opposition. He was brilliant, and I think he's like that little kind of really well built, compact, almost like a Maurice Jones-Drew type running back, and I think he could be really, really fun to watch. Defense, like I said, I think it's almost nailed on to be Chase Young. If Chase Young gets 9, 10, 11 sacks, game over. But I really like Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. And I think if he goes to a team like the Patriots, I think he could have an amazing season.
Wow. Are we thinking the Patriots can actually be any good? I don't know now.
But, you know, well, yeah, I do think the Patriots will be good because it's Bill Belichick.
Yeah. It is a pretty decent defensive mind.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure the offense will be good enough. I've already said it, and I'll continue to say it. I think this is the year, for the first time in ages, and probably the only time in a long time, we don't win the division this year.
I think it's a possibility for the first time in a long time.
I think the Bills will be good enough to beat us this year.
I think this is probably the Patriots' biggest challenge after the year when Brady was injured.
Yeah, and the team we had around Matt Castle was better than this team.
Yeah.
So I'm not down on it. I know everyone's waiting for me to be down on it. I'm generally not. I've been waiting. I've been saying for 2 years, ever since the last Super Bowl, that Brady should be gone and we should start rebuilding like the Niners did. You've got to move on. And the Giants are doing the same thing. You've got to swallow it for 4 or 5 years and then you're back again, hopefully. And we've got to do that. You can't. It doesn't go on forever. We've been so lucky. Obviously, watching
Some
Brady
teams go on forever.
Well, watching Brady and Gronk line up for someone else will be difficult, but at least they're in the NFC, so I can support them to some degree. Because I don't know what else you can do. You can't be unhappy.
He's got a new bomber jacket on order. He's on another screen, like
I've got red in the background.
Follow on Twitter.
I was happy with Brady going outside the AFC because then I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to have to play him on the way to the Super Bowl. It'll only be if you get to the Super Bowl. Well, we ain't getting to the Super Bowl. They might now. that NFC is a frightening place all of a sudden. That division, sorry, yeah.
Mike Evans and Gronk. And if they've got that for a 4th round pick, they can now go and pick one of the best couple of running backs or go and get Fournette or something. They need a running back. They do need a running back.
That's the only thing they haven't got is a good running back.
Well, they pick 14th. They may get one of the top 4 O-linemen.
Yeah.
They may get Wirfs or Wills. So if they can do that,
at the end of
then take a running back in the 2nd round, that's ridiculous.
At the end of the day, though, with Brady on the 2-year contract, you are massively in a win now.
Yes.
Trade up and get that offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Get into the top 10 or top 11, 12. Get the offensive lineman. You've then got Brady, you've got Gronk, you've got Evans, you've got Chris Godwin. You'll get a running back further down in the draft.
An insanely good team already. It really. Don't forget the defense was the best against the run last year, and they weren't awful against the pass. They were mid-range against the pass. They can get a safety and a cornerback somewhere in the draft as well. It's a really good team.
I think it's gonna be fun to watch. Like I'm intrigued.
Good coach as well. Good coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'll be pleased for Arians. I mean, it's going to be different watching them. Let's not assume it's going to be the same as watching them with Winston. Brady isn't going to throw the ball down the field.
No, I hope they just fuck it right up. I hope Brady is off the cliff. I really do. I hope it's just. I've had enough of his fucking whiny voice and his fucking whiny face. I've had enough.
And in no way are you jealous of his whiny life.
And I'll tell you what, when John has to edit this for YouTube, that's going to be fun.
It's all right. There's no C word.
I thought you had to take out every swear word.
Nah, I'm not. Nah.
I didn't know you had to do that, but I've restricted my swearing. It even says at the top of my pad, "Do not swear."
None of us have sworn until this news, and then
that's not true. I said it earlier.
You did drop it once, but this news is pretty effing incredible. But fair enough. So there is hope for the Andrew Luck thing because that's what I've been holding out for. That you're just going to wake up one morning and Andrew Luck's a Patriot. Imagine that. Anybody want to go over anything else before we sign off and bid people adieu for the draft on Thursday night?
So, legitimately, what chance do you think this season has of starting?
Legitimately, I think it will start, but I don't think it will be a full season.
Because I was listening to an expert talk about it, and basically he's saying if you are expecting anything with a stadium, then if you're expecting it to be this year, you are grossly optimistic because you can't open a stadium until there's a vaccine. I mean, the only reason I'm mentioning it because I talked to Gary beforehand is also because of the protests going on in America right now to open up, let them have haircuts, you know. I'm going
Griff doesn't
towards.
seem quite so bothered about their haircut situation.
Yeah,
Some of us are not bothered.
but
No, I mean, I can take it or leave it.
But it is this strange situation where we are drafting players for this upcoming season, and the chances are, like New York and Los Angeles
Have said no already. Yeah.
There's no chance this year that they are. So, could it be that they're going to run a season with no crowd? In which case, you will need to put the players into self-isolation in basically camp, because they need to be 2 weeks self-isolated and then tested every day. And if anyone gets it, they would then have to start the self-isolation again.
Mm.
So, and it's not like this is a 75-man squad going down to a 53-man squad. It's a lot of men.
57, John. 57.
It's going up, yeah.
New CBA.
That CBA deal.
Okay, 57. But yeah, it's
Well, it's not just that; it's the support staff around them as well, isn't
exactly, yeah. It's.
I think, John, I think you got a really good point. I only hope that the NFL are making plans for some sort of alternative arrangement, and I don't know what that looks like. I mean, it could be that they decide to relocate some of the teams to a state where they're opening up. So we've seen kind of, in Florida, Jacksonville, the beaches are now starting to open up a little bit more. Florida, I think it was North Carolina, were two of the states that seem intent on opening up early. When I say early, so I mean before everyone else. If there's a region within the state, or there's certain states that are determined to open up and allow for public events to happen, and there's enough stadiums to house kind of a few extra games. If you think about Florida, it's not just the NFL stadiums; there's the college stadiums as well. Potentially you could see a few teams even relocate to different states for a year just to get the season done. I think it's a really fair point, though. I agree. I'm not convinced we see a full season.
I think there's something we're all forgetting.
In some ways.
What's that?
I think we're all forgetting the fact it's election year in the States.
Hmm.
And I think Donald Trump will do whatever he needs to do to get re-elected.
But it's not up to him.
It's not up to him.
Well, I think he'll try and make it up to him.
I think he will.
Have you seen Donald Trump ever?
Yeah,
he'll lie.
at the end of the day, Trump has bashed the NFL for years over the whole Kaepernick thing. He's absolutely smashed them into pieces when it comes to TV ratings, and really laid into them quite viciously over the last few years. I don't think the NFL are going to be in any position to do what Trump wants them to do. The owners might, but Roger Goodell's probably not a massive fan of Donald Trump, because he's caused them a fair bit of anxiety over the last few years. And like I say, opening up states doesn't come down to Donald Trump. It comes down to the state governors, and it's up to them whether. And if states like California and New York, who've got multiple teams in them, say no, then you're looking at 4, 5, 6 teams that are suddenly without a home.
Yeah.
As well, for the athletes' sake, they are really susceptible to this. Like an athlete has a worse immune system because they are constantly at red line. So that's why the start of the crisis,
steroids.
all the footballers. So yeah, it is really worrying. And I know Goodell has met with the heads of Major League Baseball and National Hockey and WWE to discuss making sure it's open. Bizarre. It's an essential thing, wrestling. But they are
really not
on about making sure that it's reopened for football season. But I just don't see how.
I'm with you on that, John. I struggle to see how it's going to happen.
I think just enjoy the draft.
And that's what we can do.
Worry about that afterwards.
I will say this though: if the season doesn't start, then all this work the Bucks have done is pretty much eroded because Brady will Gronk might still be there, but then he's 2 years away from having played. Everything starts to erode for some of these teams. Everything is going to be different, and then you've got another year's worth of players. What happens with the players that should be drafted next year? Do they all still come out? Do they stay in college? Because
some of them won't be able to. I mean, there's a limited amount of years you can do that.
yeah, but the colleges have already been told for basketball that they can extend it by a year.
Yeah.
So you would assume that the NCAA will do the same for football.
Yeah.
But they're only going to do it once they have to. Yeah, but the NCAA's got more money than the NFL, so they can do what they like. It's fine. That's why they can do what they.
Well, they can do what they want. But Baker Mayfield was like 26 when he entered the league or whatever. Yeah. So these people need to get paid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they can choose to forgo their last 2 years. Like, I mean, it'd be up to them at the end of the day. And to the point where if no college players are playing, if no colleges are playing, it's still a level playing field, isn't it? All the scouts will just have to look at last year's scouting tape to kind of judge what the quality's like. It'll be really interesting. I mean, we could see a number of complete flops in the draft and a number of complete players who get drafted late who are suddenly amazing. Because if you didn't have last year, Tua would be going number 1 probably. Joe Burrows would be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. There'll be a number of players where you just wouldn't be talking about them in terms of 1st round talent.
Yeah, I absolutely concur with what you say. Everything is just up in the air, and it's difficult. And it's difficult to run something like this and discuss a draft that might not have any actual impact. But we have to hope that it does. There are some alternatives being bandied around, like isolating all the teams or just playing divisional games. So you only mix with the 3 other teams in your division, which would help to prevent massive spread and limit the amount of air travel that's required. There are ways and means of accommodating a shortened season that might only be 6 or 8 games. I think they have to play 8. I think they have to play 8 to make it a season.
See it being 8 games. My take on the whole thing is that there's enough. When you turn on the news, you hear nothing else other than what's going on in the world with regards to coronavirus. If the draft can serve, and if this show and every other podcast or whatever medium is talking about the draft, if it can serve just as a half hour of distraction from the crap that's going on in the world, then all's the better.
Yeah, I agree. I think we would all agree on that. I've even seen some of the darts they're playing from their own homes because everyone's desperate to watch some sport, right? I mean,
exactly.
There was a 9-darter in some bloke's kitchen.
Yeah, 9-dart finish. It was amazing.
First ever one in your kitchen. Who has a dartboard in the kitchen, man? What's that about?
I don't know. Who has a pool table in their pub in their garden?
Me.
Oh yeah, right.
And a dartboard.
I was going to say, and a dartboard.
Exactly. Right. Well, that concludes the pre-draft preamble. So tune in. It starts at 1 o'clock on Thursday night. Is that right?
Yeah. Program starts at 12. Sky Sports Action. Draft starts at 1 a.m. UK time.
Wonderful. So we'll all be awake. We'll probably be doing this to have a bit of a chat. John will be working the next day really early, so he'll make it till 1:10.
I'm working next day as well.
Yeah, but you're working from home. That doesn't count. You'll just stay in
So
bed.
am I.
Yeah, but you don't stay in bed. You get up at 5 o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, so we'll speak to everybody after the draft and do a little bit more of analysis and see whether we were right or wrong and continue to discuss whether or not this makes any impact on the year. Thank you very much and good night.
All right.